On my way out later on, Friday night fun. Hopefully it'll be fun. The 1989 Royal Rumble took place from Houston, Texas, in the venue known as the Summit. Does it still exist? January 15th, 1989, it was the first Royal Rumble available on pay-per-view and to feature the traditional 30-man Royal Rumble match. The previous incarnation only featured 20. The opening match was a pretty hot start to the show, featured last year's Royal Rumble winner Jim Duggan teaming up with the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, to take on Dino Bravo and the Fabulous Rougeau, Jacques and Raymond. The second match was for the Ladies Women's Championship, whatever it was called back in 1989. Rockin' Robin took on Judy Martin in a very forgettable match. Next up was one of the highlights of the show, a post-down which sounds quite boring on paper, but it featured the Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude, and they made it entertaining. Rick Rude then went on to attack the Ultimate Warrior at the end of the post-down, and Warrior destroyed a lot of referees during this as they attended to him, and it was a very entertaining segment throughout. The final match before the big Royal Rumble was between King Haku and Harley Race. This was a pretty solid match. Haku finished Harley Race with quite a stiff kick at the end to get the win. The Royal Rumble match, the participants included Demolition, Axe and Smash, they were number 1 and 2. Andre the Giant, Mr. Perfect, Ronnie Garvin, Greg Valentine, Jake Roberts. Damien also made an appearance in this Royal Rumble match, the Snake. Ron Bass, Shawn Michaels, his first Royal Rumble match appearance. Bushwhacker Butch, the Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, Bad News Brown, Marty Jannetty, Macho Man Randy Savage, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Hulk Hogan, Bushwhacker Luke, Coco Beware, the Warlord, the Big Boss Man, Akeem, Brutus Beefcake, the Red Rooster, the Barbarian, eventual winner Big John Studd, Hercules, Rick Martel, and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. This Royal Rumble match improved on from last year, but it fell a bit dead after the elimination of Hulk Hogan and the Big Boss Man. When Hulk Hogan used to come into these early Royal Rumble events, the energy in the crowd, it really elevated the match. He was great in these Royal Rumbles. Shawn Michaels put in a solid performance, as did Mr. Perfect, who had quite a lengthy stay. Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson were a couple of the highlights in the Royal Rumble match too. Excellent work here again from Tully Blanchard. The Brainbusters, what a terrific tag team they were, and really great team to watch. However, I must say Big John Studd was one of the most disappointing Royal Rumble winners. I didn't think it did anything for the match or the show, and he just went on to be a special guest referee in the match, WrestleMania 5 match between Jake Roberts and Andre the Giant. It just felt like a bit of a miscue. WrestleMania 5 took place April 2nd, 1989, in the same location as WrestleMania 4, Trump Plaza. I didn't like it. At WrestleMania 4. I think it looks very dated compared to a lot of the earlier WrestleManias. I feel WrestleMania 5 deserved a better location. We open up WrestleMania 5 with the Women's Champion Rockin' Robin singing America the Beautiful, or at least trying to. The opening match was Hercules and Haku. This was Hercules' 4th WrestleMania appearance in a row, can you believe? The second match was the debut of Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, Mr. WrestleMania as he would go on to be. This was a very fast-paced, fun match. Him teaming up with Marty Jannetty to take on Akeem and the Big Boss Man, who was also great in this matchup. I love the team of the Big Boss Man and Akeem. The third match of the night was a dud between Brutus Beefcake and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Moving on. I'm not sure how to rate this fourth match of the night between the Bushwhackers and the Fabulous Rougeos. It's different than Bushwhacker matches, I will say, and they were over with the crowd, but is it my cup of tea? No, not really. On paper, the fifth match of the night between Mr. Perfect and the Blue Blazer, whom of course was Owen Hart. You would think that this would perhaps steal the night, but it didn't. It was a couple of botched moments. They didn't really get enough time to be fair either. It could have been a lot better. The WWF Tag Team Championship titles were on the line here as Demolition put their belts on the line against the Powers of Pain, which also this time included Mr. Fuji, who was fun to watch, entertaining. I feel like he was the MVP of this match. Demolition get the win here. The seventh match of the night was between Dino Bravo and Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Dino Bravo won with a sidewalk slam. There was a bit of drama in the eighth match of the night between the Brainbusters and Strike Force, Tito Santana and Rick Martel. The storyline, the drama was... Oops, did I say storyline? I meant the drama was Rick Martel got knocked down by Tito Santana by accident, which resulted in Rick Martel walking away from his tag team partner. Dun dun dun! The Brainbusters then took advantage and picked up the win. And Rick Martel, after the match, cut a heel promo, and Mean Gene was furious. It was great to see the return of Rowdy Roddy Piper to the World Wrestling Federation. I forgot to mention Superfly Jimmy Snuka came down. He returned too, but it was great to see Piper return here. However, this segment was... It started off not bad with Roddy Piper and Brother Love exchanging some words, and then what's his face, Morton Downey Jr. It went from bad to worse. It went from the bad to worse, but great to see Piper back in this very cringeworthy, what ended up a very cringeworthy moment. Now, the feud leading up to this match was excellent. Jake the Snake Roberts versus Andre the Giant with special guest referee, the 1989 Royal Rumble winner, Big John Studd. This match, however, Andre just couldn't wrestle much anymore. And this match really did stink up the joint. And I love Jake Roberts, but this match was awful. In a throwaway tag match, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart defeated the team of Greg the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. There was not much time to this match. It just felt like it was thrown together. One of the major draws to WrestleMania 5 was Ravishing Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior. This match was okay. It was not bad. It was by no means great either. Ravishing Rick Rude, had some great spots with the Ultimate Warrior in this match, and it was a shock ending at the time to see Rick Rude go over. Shenanigans maybe with Bobby Heenan holding down the Warrior's foot. Now, it was a shock ending, but I thought the ending itself was quite weak. Even with Bobby Heenan holding down the Warrior's foot and leg for Rick Rude to get the fall here, I thought Warrior would have been stronger than that. I would have still kicked out. I wasn't buying that ending. It kind of ruined the match for me, but overall, not a bad match. Next up, it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on Bad News Brown. This match ended in a double disqualification. Not much to report here. Then in the 13th out of 14 matches on this Pacific Marathon WrestleMania card, Bobby Heenan took on the Red Rooster in what was a complete waste of time. The Macho Man Randy Savage battled Hulk Hogan in the main event of WrestleMania 5. The Mega Powers exploded indeed. This was a decent match, but slightly disappointing, I would say. Savage, he was the MVP of the night here, but I didn't like Hulk Hogan kicking out at 1 after the bionic elbow drop. I think he could have given Savage a little bit more respect there. Um, it was just same old, same old. Hogan wins with a leg drop and not much drama at the end. But the feud leading up to this and it was excellent. The storytelling was excellent throughout the year build up, but the match disappointing. SummerSlam took place August 28th, 1989. We're in New Jersey, and the main event for this show pits Hulk Hogan and his good friend, or I think they're not really speaking at the moment in real life. But anyways, his good friend back then, Bruce the Barber Beefcake, against the Macho Man Randy Savage and Zeus. Zeus, for me, was the draw to the show. Therefore, he was the most important part of SummerSlam. You wanted to tune in to this year's SummerSlam to see if Hulk Hogan could defeat Zeus. The opening match was a pretty decent tag team display between the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard. This, unfortunately, will be the last time I get to talk about Tully Blanchard unless one day I rate the WCW pay-per-views. As he's not at the next show, which is the Survivor Series, he was supposed to be there, but left, quit, got fired, whatever. He teams up here with Ann Anderson to take on the Hart Foundation. They were the current tag team champions, Tully Blanchard and Ann Anderson. And this match, it was decent, but it felt like, why was it happening? Why were the titles not on the line? We got some bogus reason why the tag titles weren't on the line. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But decent opening. The second match of the night pitted the Honky Tonk Man against Dusty Rhodes, who was making his WWF pay-per-view debut here. Fun and entertaining match. The third match of the night was good, but I mean, who really cares about the Red Rooster? I don't. I don't think much people do. He went up against Mr. Perfect. It was fine. It was a fun six-man tag match featuring Rick Martel teaming up with the Fabulous Rougeau Brothers to take on his former tag team partner Tito Santana and the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Mari Janae. It was fast-paced. It was action-packed. Good stuff. In one of the matches and moments of the night, the Ultimate Warrior defeated Ravishing Rick Rude for the Intercontinental Championship. The crowd were really into it. Big pop for the Ultimate Warrior becoming Intercontinental Champion once again. Roddy Piper turned up to start his feud with Rick Rude, I guess. It kinda... I would have preferred a clean Ultimate Warrior win here. There's no reason for Roddy Piper to be down at this time. It was no. I would say this was the best Ultimate Warrior Rick Rude match on pay-per-view. In a memorable six-man tag match, because of the participants involved, Jim Duggan, Hacksaw, teamed up with Demolition, my favorite tag team, to take on Andre the Giant and his tag team partners, the Big Boss Man and Akeem. What a lineup! What a lineup! Totally different from the previous six-man tag. The 1980s wrestling, WWF wrestling, was very larger-than-life, character-driven here, and it was very much on display in this match. The thing I remember the most about Greg Valentine taking on Hercules here is the guest ring announcer, Ronnie Garvin, rugged Ronnie Garvin. He tried to be funny. His jokes about Greg Valentine as he was announcing him to the ring were so bad they were good. And I can't remember much else about this encounter. Ted DiBiase with his bodyguard Virgil then took on the Jimmy Superfly Snuka, whom returned at WrestleMania 5. DiBiase won here. as Snuka was counted out. Throwaway match. I believe Jake Roberts was injured and missed this show. If Jake Roberts hadn't been injured, I believe he would have been facing Ted DiBiase here. Main event time. Zeus, my MVP of this show, teamed up with Randy Savage to take on the Hulkster and Brutus Beefcake. It was now I don't think a one-on-one match here between Hulk and Zeus would have worked. So I understand the whole tag team thing, even though it really triggers me to see Brutus Beefcake, his name in the main event here at SummerSlam of all shows, the second biggest show of the year. It's headlined by Brutus Beefcake. It does not look right. It was an okay match. Sensational Sherry ended up getting a haircut at the end. The whole haircut gimmick is so cringe. I don't think it belongs in wrestling, to be honest. I don't tune into wrestling to see people get what is a forced haircut. Yeah. Anyways, SummerSlam '89, a lot of great larger than life characters on display. It was a great time to be a wrestling fan, but I felt a bit underwhelmed by this specific SummerSlam and WrestleMania from 1989, despite the WWF being. It's funny, a lot of these 1980s pay-per-views end up quite disappointing despite the talent WWF had at the time. I guess they were ironing out the flaws with some of these early wrestling pay-per-views. The third annual Survivor Series took place November 23rd, 1989, 3 days before my second birthday. I was born in the first ever one Survivor Series. So, pretty much the same as the first two Survivor Series events. However, there is a couple of changes. Instead of 5-on-5 teams, it's 4-on-4 teams, and no tag team elimination match this year, which results in some odd teams, as we'll get into. The opening 4-on-4 Survivor Series bout featured the Dream Team, captained by Dusty Rhodes. His team members included Brutus Beefcake, the Red Rooster, and Tito Santana. They took on the Enforcers, captained by the Big Boss Man. His team members included Bad News Brown, Rick Martel, the Honky Tonk Man, and yeah, I forget there's just 4. So used to saying there's 5-on-5 for the Survivor Series. The survivors were Dusty Rhodes and Brutus Beefcake, my favorite wrestler ever. Big Boss Man was eliminated by pinfall for the Dream Team to secure the win in a decent first opening match here. Don't know why I've got to say first and opening, but decent first opening here at the third annual Survivor Series. Next up was the team, the King's Court, captained by Macho King Randy Savage, as he was known by this point. His team members included Canadian Earthquake, or just Earthquake as everyone calls him, Dino Bravo and Greg Valentine. They took on the team, the 4x4s, led by, guess who? Ho! Hacksaw Jim Duggan. His team members included Bret the Hitman Hart, Rugged Ronnie Garvin, and Hercules. I would say this Survivor Series match was the best Survivor Series match of the night. There were some neat exchanges between Randy Savage and Bret Hart. By goodness, if they ever faced one-on-one in a WWF pay-per-view, both in their prime, that would have tore the house down. Canadian Earthquake also looked very strong in this matchup. Now, what's probably the best Survivor Series team ever, or one of them, you had in one team the greatest tag team of the golden age of wrestling, Axe and Smash Demolition. He had Jake the Snake Roberts, the greatest wrestler, in my opinion, of the golden age of wrestling. Then you have Hulk Hogan, the biggest star and one of the greatest wrestlers in the golden age of wrestling. What a team they took on. They were called the Hulkamaniacs. And they took on the $1 Million Team, which consisted of... Oh, Hulk Hogan was the captain, just in case you're wondering, of the Hulkamaniacs team. Egomaniac running wild. The captain of the $1 Million Team was Ted DiBiase. In his team included the Warlord and the Barbarian and Zeus. Despite me loving the Hulkamaniac team, this match was probably the worst Survivor Series match tonight. There was also a lot of rubbish eliminations too that happened to the Powers of Pain, and Zeus right at the start just was dragged on and it wasn't great. Next up, the Rude Brood, captained by Rick Rude. His team members included Mr. Perfect and the fabulous Rougeau Brothers. They took on Roddy's Rowdies, captained by Roddy Piper. His team included former rival Jimmy Snuka and the Bushwhackers. The sole survivor of this match was Mr. Perfect. Great showing for him. The main event featured the team known as the Ultimate Warriors, captained by the Ultimate Warrior, funnily enough. And his team consisted of Jim Neidhart and the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. They faced the Heenan family team, captained by Andre the Giant, whom was eliminated very quickly in this match. This was a con and brings one of the reasons why the Survivor Series, I would say, was one of the most disappointing. It has a great deal of talent on the show, but very disappointing end product. Also in the Heenan family team was Haku and Ann Anderson. There was some decent in-ring wrestling to be seen here with Ann Anderson and Shawn Michaels going at it, and it was a fun ending too, as the Ultimate Warrior was once again the sole survivor as he chased around Bobby Heenan at the end. He was such a bully towards Bobby Heenan, wasn't he? He really was. It looked like the Ultimate Warrior was having too much of a good time getting the win here on Bobby the Brain Heenan. So, my rankings for the 1989 pay-per-views go like this. In fourth place, the Survivor Series. Disappointing. Third place, WrestleMania 5. Disappointing. Second place, there's a bit of a theme here, SummerSlam 89. So by default, the 1989 Royal Rumble, which is a solid show, but by no means a great Royal Rumble event, it would probably be ranked quite low in the all-time Royal Rumbles. It's the best pay-per-view of 1989.